Good evening, good folks, and welcome to the City of Muskegon City Commission General Session for this Tuesday, September 12th, 2023. Please note that we have a couple comment periods, one of which is towards the beginning of the meeting, and that's on any agenda items. And then there's another public comment period at the end of the meeting, and that's on anything you wish to discuss. You have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks at either the early public comment period or the latter public comment period. We do encourage you to complete a public comment form at the back of the room. It's on that table. Please provide your name and home address, and if you are speaking on an agenda item, which agenda items you're speaking on. And then please submit the form to our clerk at the end down there. And when it's your time, I'll call you and recognize you up to the podium, and you have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks. And if you are not present, you will also have an opportunity to give public comment by phone. And so we'll have that information scrolling at the bottom of the screen, as well as I'll be announcing the phone number for people to phone in. Before we get on with our order of business, we're going to be led in prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And we have Dr. Rob Renberg from Anchor Point Bible Church leading us in prayer. So if you wish to join us in that prayer and or Pledge of Allegiance, I just ask you to stand if you're so able to do so.
Let's bow in prayer, shall we? Heavenly Father, what a privilege it is to be doing the business of the government. And we thank you for those that have stepped into this role. And we do now pray for wisdom for them, for clarity of issues, for patience in hearing things through, and for wisdom in making decisions that will be a blessing to the people that they lead and for our fair city. Father, we thank you for this and for all these who are here. We ask your blessing now in this time. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. All right, Madam Clerk, may we have roll call, please?
Commissioner St. Clair?
Here.
Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Hood?
Here.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Here.
Vice Mayor German? Absent. Commissioner Gorman?
Here.
Commissioner Emery?
Here.
All right. We're going to start with public comments on agenda items. I do have a couple forms, but they are not on agenda items, so they'll be held to the end of the meeting. And do we have anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on an agenda item? Is there? All right. Which agenda item are you speaking on?
Non-motorized cab.
Oh, Laketon Lakeshore Trail and MFRT resolution? 7G? All right. Then, Ms. Cheryl Winberg, welcome from the NIMS neighborhood. You have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Kind of scary to be recognized. I hope that you have been availing yourself of the Nextdoor website, and I'm sure that you've been getting some feedback from numerous and sundry citizens of the area and the micropolitan regarding being notified of things prior to it. I think that these two things are connected. A central place to disperse info would surely help the citizens instead of having to go to the master plan, to the agenda, or the 3 places that we get notified by the city. Thank you for notifying us, by the way. I don't want that to go unnoticed. But in regard to this Laketon Lakeshore connector, in the little bit that I read about it, I noted that collectively, 75% you say is from a grant, but collectively, this is going to be a $2 million plus prospect for the city. And I don't know that we have, perhaps it was out there, but in the event, as we just discussed, that we were not notified of this coming up. what is the need for that? I guess basically under those frequently asked questions that Director of Public Works puts out, we should probably know what is the need to have a $2 million expenditure. Some of the people have said this is a hefty price for a pavement that isn't used year-round and pavement that was already there in some fashion. Hard to keep up with the plans for the use of our money without general knowledge. And just received the agenda for the next month. Director of Public Works is going to ask for greater than $2 million matching funds and approval from MDOT for a non-motorized path from Laketon down Sanford and Jefferson to Shoreline. Anyone hear of this or approve it? I will be there to ask questions, and that's basically what I answered. That is my synopsis of hundreds of comments.
Thank you, Ms. Wittenberg. Appreciate you joining us. Is there anyone else wish to speak on an agenda item? Which agenda item, sir? 7E. Oh, firefighting turnout equipment.
Yes.
Welcome, Michael Howeisen, joining us from the Oakview neighborhood.
Well, it's nice to be back with you, Mr. Mayor,
Good to see you again.
commissioners. It's been a while. I'm going to try to work this out to be able to get back here more often. When it comes to any equipment that it comes for our fire department, our EMS, our police department, I fully back any expenditure that this city has to put in, anything that the county has to put in. We need to take care of those people because they take care of us. That's their job, and it should be our job to help protect them. Have a wonderful day, and on the second one that was on the sheet, I won't be doing that.
Okay.
Have a blessed day, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Howeisen. Appreciate you joining us this evening. All right. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to give comment on an agenda item? Yes, sir. Which item?
It would be the connecting trail.
All right, the connecting trail. And I'm sorry, I recognize your face, but not your name, so I will need you to introduce yourself, and if you are a resident of the city of Muskegon, which neighborhood you reside in, and if you're not a city resident, which city, town, or township or village you're joining us from.
My name is Alan Coley, and I live in the Glenside area.
Welcome, Mr. Coley.
You're welcome. I just wanted to say I'm in favor of the connecting trail. I think opening up the downtown more to people from the east side of the city, easier access on a wider trail gives people, like I said, just easier access. And the information's out there. Sometimes it's a little hard to find, but I encourage people to look at the site. I went to the open houses about the road construction, talked to Mr. Dan Vander
Hi.
Hayden, thank you. And, one-on-one, I encourage people to go to those because it's very informal. We talked about the bike trail. He says, yep, that's in the works. It was in the plans. So it's out there. It might be a little hard to find, but it's not something that I really, when I see and hear people say about hidden agenda, I don't feel it's a hidden agenda. It might be a little hidden in having to find it, but it's not hidden in the sense we don't want people to know about it. But I 100% support enhancing our bike trails, or don't want to really call them bike trails, non-motorized trails, to enhance people getting around the city, access to the downtown area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coley. Appreciate you joining us this evening and sharing your perspective. Anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak on an agenda? And which agenda item, sir?
Same item.
Same item. Welcome up. If you could please provide your name, and then if you are a city resident, which neighborhood you're from, and if you live outside of the city, just which city, township, or village.
My name is Tim Denura. I live in Bluffton, and I'm just kind of getting up to speed on this trail. I've been seeing all of and driving through the road diet, and I think I get the idea that all the traffic's going to go to one side, and the other side is going to become open to non-motorized traffic. Is that correct?
This isn't a time for Q&A right here. It's an opportunity to hear from the public. You're welcome to pose questions, and we may address it during the course of our meeting or ask staff to address it. But at this time, it's not a Q&A.
Okay, then just one thing I'd like to know if anybody has a vision of what that will look like when it's complete, and so that we have something to look, if we're going to go this way, look forward to and get a chance what it looks like. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you joining us this evening from Bluffton.
Yeah.
Anyone else in the audience wish to give public comment on an agenda item? All right, we are going to go to the phones. And I had that number jotted down from last night. 724
6721.
6721. So if anyone is interested in giving comment on an agenda item, so folks watching at home, it is an agenda item at 724-6721. And we'll give that just a few more moments for anyone to phone in their comments. Any callers?
No, Mayor.
Nope. All right. We're going to move on then. Commissioners, the consent agenda has been presented. You've had an opportunity to review. Are there any items that you wish to have removed for separate consideration and vote? Commissioner Ramsey.
Items 7E, 7F, and 7G.
7E, 7F, and 7G. All right. Commissioner St. Clair.
You got mine.
All right. Are there any other items that commissioners would like to have removed for separate vote and consideration? Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented, minus item 7E, 7F, and 7G.
So moved.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Ramsey, supported by Commissioner St. Clair. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Commissioner Ramsey, item 7E, firefighting turnout equipment, public safety.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I motion to approve staff to purchase 13 sets of firefighting turnout gear from MES of Sanford, Michigan.
Support.
All right, motion by Commissioner Ramsey, supported by Commissioner St. Clair. Welcome, Public Safety Director Tim Kozel.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Last year I presented for some purchase of brand new fire equipment bunkers, and I budgeted for some additional ones so we can have everybody have their first line bunker gear free of the PFAS material. So this is just following up on our budgeted item. We did go out for bid. We were able to piggyback on Grand Rapids bid so we can get a better deal on our bunker gear. So this is what I'm requesting. We are a little bit under, which is good as what I budgeted. However, we still have that second set of gear that we'll be looking at, but we're also waiting for the state to come down with that additional monies that I've been hearing about that can help us pay for that second set. So, but right now this should help us out.
Absolutely. If we can identify third-party money rather than spend our own
Yes.
for our needs, we're going to seize that opportunity. Commissioner Ramsey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, and thank you, Chief. I just like to highlight any time that we get to provide better options for our public safety staff to be safer. And I also love that this was budgeted for, and I want to celebrate that because sometimes when something is lost in that tiny, tiny font budget, Director Grant, we don't realize all of the great things that are happening. And so I just wanted to kind of highlight and shine a light on this great opportunity. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramsey. And we enlarged that font in this
I
year's budget
know,
for you.
but it's so much fun to drag, Ken.
Commissioner St. Clair?
I don't have anything to add beyond what Commissioner Ramsey said. Just thank you for finding us a deal and being proactive. We appreciate that.
Indeed. Thank you, Commissioner St. Clair. Commissioners, any other questions or comments at this time? No? All right. Thank you, Chief Kozel.
Yes.
Are you going to pull 7F for 7G?
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hood.
Yes.
Motion passes.
You know, I heard you were asking Commissioner St. Clair if she wanted to make the motion.
Well,
on one of
I
the
wanted
others.
to make sure that
So you want to
since-
proceed with 7F, or would you like?
Yeah, I'm going to be 7F.
Okay.
She's going to be 7G.
Okay. Commissioner Ramsey, 7F, user agreement, Muskegon YMCA, Parks and Recreation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to make a motion to authorize staff to enter into an agreement with our strategic partner, Muskegon YMCA.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Ramsey, supported by Commissioner Emery. And we'll be reporting out Parks and Recreation Director, Kyle Karczewski.
Hi. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for coming.
Keep it in the back.
It was just going to pass, or yeah.
Welcome, welcome. If you could just report out on this agreement.
Yeah, so they like to use a couple of our facilities. They want to start a diabetes prevention program at McGrath Park, in the indoor facility at Smith Ryerson. They want to do a healthy family habits class there. Those are both to be free. And they'd also like to Sweetwood, that's our partnership, to hopefully start some fitness classes at our parks. And they're an organization that's looking for a home, and we are a department looking for people to help fill our homes and provide wellness for our residents. So I think it's a good fit.
Absolutely. Bolstering health and wellness. Commissioner Ramsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kyle, thank you for sharing this. This is something that I just celebrate. We're all very excited about the job that you're doing and how you get to engage. I, fortunately, for this particular one, which is why I wanted to call it out, get to wear two hats because Trinity also is a huge supporter of the Muskegon YMCA and those programs specifically. And so thank you under my Trinity hat, and then thank you as a commissioner, and lastly as a neighbor for providing space and opportunity for my neighbors to get engaged and to, no, that was going to sound weird.
Get healthy.
Yeah, but to get healthy. Right. So that's all. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramsey. Commissioner Emery?
I just want to say thank you. I'm excited about this, and I hope that eventually it will grow even bigger. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Commissioners? Thank you, Commissioner Emery. Commissioner Hood, St. Clair, Gorman, anything to ask or add? No? All right. Thank you. As we're building out our Parks and Recreation Department and looking to add programming into our parks, I think it's great that, we pursue these partnerships with established entities and organizations in our community. Collaboration cultivates community, so I'd like to see this.
They've been a good partner. So it's going to be very exciting to get those started soon.
Awesome. Yeah. Great work. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Emery?
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 7G, Laketon Lakeshore Trail MNRFT resolution, which is Michigan National Resources Trust Fund resolution, Public Works. Commissioner St. Clair.
Thank you. I motion for the approval of the included resolution of support for the MNRFT grant application for the Lakeshore Trail Connector.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner St. Clair, supported by Commissioner Ramsey, and welcome back, Director Karcheski.
Yep.
So if you want to just update us on this particular resolution and where we're at with moving this shared use path, non-motorized trail forward.
Okay. So the commitment, I know it's a big number, 2.4 million. The commitment from the city, Mr. Vanderhyde has assured that $600,000 would be the largest commitment that the city would have involved in this. There's two separate grants that we've been encouraged to apply for that would cover the rest. Really a big reason that it is so supported by the state of Michigan is because it's the only missing piece of an 81-mile trail that connects downtown Grand Rapids to Hart. And you can do that entire trail, but 1.5 miles up Sanford is what we're missing on that to be able to do that. So that's why we support it. There will be no road diet. There will be no changing of any roads at all. There was already construction on Sanford that narrowed it a little bit. That has left a wider possibility for a sidewalk there. So wouldn't change anything about our roads. This is not Road Diet 2.0. It's just simply a nice opportunity that the state is, encouraging us to look into.
So this is in the road right of way, but not in the existing configuration of the road itself.
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner St. Clair.
So just to clarify, this is an application that we are making to the DNR in request of grant funds to build this connector.
Yes, and it's nothing that we would get into unless we got 2 other grants.
Okay.
So we're not interested in putting up 1.6 million for it or something like that. It's only we have to, obviously, it's the process to be able to, get the other grants. So it's step 1 of a 3-grant process that we'd like to try to get to make it here.
So we're not voting to allocate any funds today. We are
Correct.
voting to get behind a application to move this forward potentially. And my other question, which I already know the answer to, but I would like other people to hear. You mentioned that the connector would go down Sanford, but it would also go down the vacated side of Terrace now. Is that correct?
Yes.
So our former road diet with the empty terrace on Terrace would be utilized for that.
100%. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. No other questions.
Thank you for bringing that up because a lot of people have questions about like
What
what
is
is this? Excess
Why do you have this
grass?
giant?
There was a
Space,
hiccup with
yes.
getting that, extension of the trail through there, but it is still the intent to put the trail through there. That's forthcoming. So thank you, Commissioner St. Clair. Commissioner Ramsey.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if there was a map that we could put up on the screen that was included in the agenda, but Commissioner St. Clair did a great job of identifying the location of the trail verbally. So if we don't have a map, it's okay.
Actually looked at it too because trying to get a little last minute.
There's not a
Maybe
map
something
in the
you'd find on
packet.
Google Maps, but I don't believe
Just the
it was
resolutions
attached.
in the packet, not a map.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah,
Next time.
going from Sanford
Yeah.
north from
Going
Layton.
drive.
Yes. Very exciting. Thank you, Kyle.
Yes.
Commissioner Hood, Gorman, Emery, anything to ask or add at this time? All right. I'll just say thank you. This is great that we're seeking these grant resources, and it sounds like we have a good chance of securing those grant resources. And I think, for what we're contemplating, our city's portion to make this project happen is very well worthwhile. To connect our Laketon Trail to our Lakeshore Trail and enhance mobility options for our community. So I wholeheartedly support it and appreciate your efforts and your team's efforts.
You're here.
Thank you.
Yep.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next up, item 8A. This is a public hearing, approval of the Lakeside Business Improvement District Special Assessment, Economic Development. So we're going to have Contessa Alexander reporting out on this item, and then we're going to be opening up to public comments. So this is a public hearing, so anyone in the audience that wishes to give comment on this particular item, I do encourage you to fill out that form with your name and your home address. Note, I will not share your home address nor ask you to share your home address. And if you are watching at home on one of our live streams or Comcast Channel 96, you'll have the opportunity to phone in to participate in the public hearing as well, but it needs to be on this item pertaining to this public hearing, nothing else for people calling in at this time. So, Mrs. Alexander.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. So I'm here on behalf of the Lakeside Business Improvement District. They're requesting a 3-year renewal for their special assessment. And at their special assessment for 2021 and 2023, it has allowed them to cover items such as snow removal, Christmas decorations, landscapes, events, and advertisement. So it was a unanimous vote by the board, or by the bid, to do a 3-year renewal. This will be their final 3 years, and it will be at a 20% reduction. So for 4 cents per square foot for commercial properties and 2 cents per square foot for commercial properties that are Class B properties and Class A. So the 2 cents will be for Class B, which are classified as industrial properties, utilities, and automotive. Thanks. So those are the properties that don't benefit the most. So we've reduced that to 2 cents. You all have a special assessment packet, so that has been updated because from our the last time I presented on this item on August 22nd, we had Commissioner Emery had a comment related to short rentals and a resident. So since then, I worked with our city attorney to include those short-term rentals, and it's all updated in your packet. So if approved, we will need a signed resolution from the mayor and city clerk, and the city mayor will also need to appoint 2 commissioners to go over the special tax rolls.
Excellent. Thank you,
You're
Mrs.
welcome.
Alexander.
Yep.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to give comment on this item, which is with regard to the establishment and approval of the Lakeside Business Improvement District Special Assessment? All right. Seeing no one in the audience, viewers at home may phone in as well. The phone number is 231-724-6721. We'll give that a few moments for phone-in comments, if any. All right. Any phone calls?
No, Mayor.
All right. Well, we are going to move on. Commissioners, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing and approve the resolution of the establishment of the Lakeside Bid Special Assessment District for 2024 to 2026 as presented, and to authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign, and to appoint 2 commissioners to review the special assessment tax rolls.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Hood, supported by Commissioner Ramsey. Before we go to roll call, and I appoint 2 of you to this, do you have any questions or comments with regard to this item?
Great job.
All right. Commissioner Emery, would you be willing to serve on this?
Sure.
And then anyone else clamoring to serve? I think Commissioner Ramsey.
Oh, sure, yeah. No, I love that.
Great job.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Commissioner Ramsey and Commissioner Emery, I'd like to appoint you. Does that need to be incorporated into the motion or not? Okay. Oh, your copy. There we go. So, we're good to go. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And so the city ARPA community grant for Pioneer Resources has been removed for future consideration at another meeting. So if you saw that in your agenda, that's not an item that we are addressing tonight.
Why?
It's
I just think that we should share why we're not addressing it so that our neighbors know why it was pulled.
Manager, you want to answer Commissioner Ramsey's question?
Yeah, because of the conflict that exists with Commissioner Gorman, it requires a unanimous vote of the board. And since we're down 1 tonight, that vote's not possible.
Can't do that.
Yeah,
It would
literally can't.
automatically fail
Yeah.
if we tried to vote without
Absolutely.
a complete board. Yep.
Absolutely.
So we are going to delay this to a future meeting in which we hope that all members of the commission will be present, and then we can vote on it at that time.
Support.
All right, moving on to master land use plan adoption. And so that we proceed, may I have a motion?
I motion to approve the resolution for the adoption of the master plan and future land use map as presented.
Support. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Ramsey, supported by Commissioner Hood. So welcome, Planning Manager Mike Franzik and City Planner Jamie Pesh.
Good evening. Tonight is a culmination of a very long process. We are very proud of the plan we put forward. Jamie's going to be giving a short presentation. Just a little background, we held the 63-day notice period. We got 6 comments. I can pass these out. This was
Sir?
reported at the Planning Commission meeting. Unfortunately, most of these comments really aren't involved with the master plan. 5 of them are just opposed to the shoreline diet, which actually is not in the master plan. And one person just really doesn't like Muskegon and let us know that. So we did not decide to incorporate any of these because there's really nothing in there to change. So the Planning Commission met, held a public hearing on August 31st. It was unanimously recommended for approval for the City Commission. And I was also asked to talk a little bit about some of the changes we made along the way, even though they weren't necessarily from the 63-day period. There were quite a few changes. Not quite as many as you would think, because we actually wrote this plan along with the workshop. So we had 28 different meetings, and our first meeting, we just came with some statistics and some charts, and we wanted to gather people's ideas. So every time we came back, the plan got a little bit further along, a little bit longer, and that's where we're at today. But a few other things that we did change was we removed a goal from the Jackson Hill and economic development sections to locate all aggregate storage to the east end of Muskegon Lake. We heard from some people from Jackson Hill that that's not necessarily the greatest idea, and there are other sections in our city where we do have some aggregate storage that are grandfathered in, so we don't really want to have to make that push to bring that to the east end of the lake, even though it's a possibility with all the infrastructure there. The community, let's see here, also we modified goal 4 of the neighborhood and housing section to require new development to provide identified public amenities for existing and future residents. This was inspired by many of the workshop participants and groups that focus on public waterfront access. We initially tried to identify ourselves what we should try to request in PUDs, but when we met with these neighborhoods, we noticed that every neighborhood has different needs. So we are encouraging anytime there is a PUD, whether it's on the waterfront or not, to meet with these neighbors and discuss what type of amenities, if there's going to be a give and take on these agreements, what kind of public amenities would they like to see through this development to improve their neighborhood. I also met with Al Steinman from the GVSU Annis Water Resource, and he helped revise the climate resiliency plan and the goal to bring more opportunities to support the economy of the freshwater estuaries, which is very helpful. That's something we didn't have a lot of expertise on, and he helped kind of critique our writing there and really help smooth out. Some of the big things I want to note that were beneficial to us in going further with some of these ideas was the community nodes aspect of the plan, which was heavily requested by a lot of you on the city commission, and it was very well received by many of the workshop participants, so that's an idea we ran heavily with. The Wildlife Corridor Plan was inspired by one of our favorite commenters, Vina Coleman. That's something that she really wanted to see, and it fits in great with that neighborhood and a couple of others, so that's something we're really excited to explore further. The active transportation map was developed in coordination with the Muskegon County Bicycling Coalition. Goal 6 of the housing and neighborhood section was inspired by several participants of the workshop, and that includes 3 different goals within there. And action step 2 of goal number 2 of the natural features and climate and resiliency chapter was inspired by workshop participants and public comments and commission meetings. And one of the major things in there, the goals was to balance the different interests on Muskegon Lake, and one of the action steps is to conduct a carrying capacity study for Muskegon Lake. A lot of that was discussed at city commission meetings, so even if we weren't at public participation meetings, we're still listening to what the public wants. And also Project 5 of the Beechwood Bluffton Neighborhood Subplan was also inspired by the work of the Muskegon County Bicycle Coalition. So we're very thankful for everybody that was able to participate. I'm sure there's a lot of other instances which I forgot along this 3 or 4 year process, but very thankful for everyone that helped us write this plan. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie for the presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Pesh.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Great. So Mike gave a pretty good introduction to what we've been working on for the past few years. I want to provide an overview of the plan as well as an overview of initially the public participation that we went through throughout the past, since 2019 really. So engagement efforts began in 2019. They were interrupted by the pandemic, but we stepped back in late 2021 to get going on things again. We had online survey opportunities throughout the entirety of writing the plan, and a dedicated project webpage where people could see things updated as we change things. 28, as Mike mentioned, public engagement events, with the most recent happening on August 15th. And all those meeting formats varied, but all of them reflected our ongoing efforts to foster relationships with our citizens and to have a master plan that is written with heavy public input. We didn't want to write run it past everybody and then change it after. We wanted from the get-go, we started from scratch. This is the first full comprehensive review of the plan that we've had in over 25 years. So it was long overdue, and there were many different places we could start from, but we started with hosting these engagement sessions with our neighborhood associations. So that was in 2019. We had our neighborhood association workshops with all of the neighborhoods except for, I believe, we weren't able to set up one with the Campbell Field Neighborhood Association. 2021, we stepped back in post-pandemic and we held neighborhood plan workshops. So this was a review of what we had created since the neighborhood association workshops we held 2 years prior. This was more for feedback on specific neighborhood goals for every neighborhood. We broke them into, I think, 5 neighborhood groups, and we hosted it over a 3-day period. 2022, we had economic development and business corridor specific workshops that was held at the hotel downtown. We hosted that in 2 different days, and we invited a number of city business realm stakeholders. The Chamber of Commerce got involved in helping to get the word out about that. Then in 2023, we started to present some of the overarching themes of the master plan. March 15th was our major topics goal review. That was the first that we were able to sort of get the 4 key topics of this plan together, present them to the public. We basically did sort of a interactive presentation where we would state a goal, explain the reasoning behind the goal in the plan, and gather feedback on whether people were in favor of it, sort of on the fence about it, or completely opposed to it. We followed that up with more neighborhood-specific sessions where we looked at the goals outlined specifically in all of our neighborhoods, including an additional neighborhood that doesn't actually exist on paper, but we're calling it the Northeast neighborhood. That is the area up near Muskegon Community College, the Baker College, now county campus, everything basically east of US 31 out there. Those spanned the majority of March. We hosted mobile office hours following all of those at a few different places around the city. Got some good participation, very casual, very conversational type meetings, less presentations. And then April 18th, we actually did a follow-up on our March 15th meeting where we reviewed specific goals about the economic development chapter of the plan. We didn't quite get into that as much as we wanted to that night in March, so we came back and we did more. And then August 15th, we had sort of a final wrap-up and got a decent turnout for that one as well. So, as I mentioned, there are 4 major topics that comprise the main body of the plan. Those include transportation, economic development, natural features, and climate resiliency, and our housing and neighborhoods. These topics include guiding principles that, where applicable, address the entire city. And these were formulated with input gathered at all of the public engagement events and online through our survey responses. And then we refined those throughout the series of master plan goal setting or goal review sessions that we held this spring. So the first of those major topics is transportation. We have 10 goals for those. I know Mike presented on this previously, and you've all had much time, and many of you had attended those master plan meetings, so I don't want to walk through them all individually, but we will highlight specific ones from each section. So goal number 6 in transportation was to promote and improve active transportation through the maintenance and expansion of the network of sidewalks and non-motorized trails. And within that, we have recommendations. So 2 recommendations under that specific goal, including establishing an active transportation plan and then using our active transportation plan to expand the city's active transportation network. Active transportation here, we're basically defining as things like non-motorized trails, sidewalks, basically anything that is not necessarily a street where cars would drive. Economic development, we have 6 goals. Goal number 5 calls for utilizing our natural resources to develop a strong blue economy. And within that, we have recommendations to increase and enhance publicly accessible amenities along the waterfront and soften shorelines where possible. And another recommendation to become regionally and nationally designated by organizations that bring visibility and economic development to Muskegon Lake. Our natural features and climate resiliency chapter has 5 goals. The second of which is to balance the different interests on Muskegon Lake. Mike had mentioned this in his comments so far. And that involves allowing for a wide variety of land uses along the Muskegon Lake shoreline, considering the necessity of certain land uses and paying special attention to location, market demand. And it also calls for conducting a carrying capacity study for Muskegon Lake. That was one that we received a lot of feedback on, both of those points actually. And so these are revised from when we first started this process to what they are in the final version of the plan. Also want to note here that the second recommendation calls for a future study. That happens quite a bit throughout this plan. And I'll come back to that, what we're calling sub-plans of the master plan, in a moment. The final and fourth section of the key topics of the plan is our housing and neighborhoods chapter. The third goal of which calls for creating walkable community nodes within a short distance of all residents. We want to identify existing potential community nodes in each neighborhood to serve as strong centers from which the neighborhood can orient itself and build upon. And we want to update land use regulations in those places to permit better integration of different land uses at these identified community nodes. As I mentioned, this contains a number of sub-plans. You can see here under the 4 key topics that we already have our work set out for us in terms of, for transportation, and as I mentioned, an active transportation plan, public alley policies and standards, economic development. We call for a series of corridor improvement plans for some of the areas throughout the city that don't have that currently. Natural features and climate resiliency, wildlife corridor studies, a climate action plan, and then our housing and neighborhoods section is the only one that we've completed the sub-plans for so far, and those are our neighborhood sub-plans. Those consist of a lot of different things, ranging from breakdowns of zone land use, as you can see in the top right corner there, to inventories of commercial and industrial buildings and properties, to identification of significant redevelopment properties found in each neighborhood. And this is a topic explored throughout the major sections that I mentioned is community nodes. So, in case anybody hadn't already known what we meant by this, they're basically concentrations of commercial or civic, you can think faith-based institutions, schools, that serve as basically gathering places for our residents. This is a snippet from our future land use map that shows, you can see within the larger radius there, that's a 5-minute walk of a community node. So the larger green square you see in the lower left is actually Marsh Field and Peck Street running alongside it. So we basically identify a community node there. This is a place where people come together, whether it be for events at Marsh Field, for the businesses that have opened along Peck Street, and soon to be middle school across Laketon Avenue there. And we identify an area that is within 5 minutes of that. We want to make that a place where people that live close by can go, they can gather, they can spend time there. The plan identifies at least one of these community nodes for each neighborhood, and it's generally central and accessible for residents and visitors. And if there are needs for improvements, whether it's related to accessibility, reinvestment, the plan's recommendations call for changes that can be made to help those out. Neighborhood projects are essentially shorter-term possibilities for each of the neighborhoods. This goes all the way back to the start of our public engagement. Each sub-plan is going to contain a handful of these projects. As you can see on the top here is a potential future of the Laketon and Madison intersection, and then the bottom there is a potential future for the Laketon and Seaway section. We worked with Hooker de Jong to create these renderings to help give a visual for what all of this writing actually tries to address. So just to run through a few examples, the Angel neighborhood, the first project is to restore the farmers market site to a natural green space. We have approached the idea of development of that site. What we found is that it would be better off as an open space, and we break that further down into action steps. So rezoning the property to ensure preservation of open space, much like is done with the adjacent Ryerson Creek land. Amending our Parks and Recreation plan to include landscaping and pathway improvements so that we can set the groundwork for those investments in the future. And to seek grant funding, ultimately, for environmental cleanup and trail improvements and construction. This meets, I don't want to regurgitate all of the goals and recommendations, but you can see in our transportation chapter, it meets goal number 6, and then our natural features and climate resiliency goals 3 and 4, and recommendations under goal 4 for that specific section. In Lakeside, the fourth project is to call for enhanced connections to Glenside through public easement improvements and the redevelopment of the former railroad right-of-way. The action steps call for a cost to benefit analysis for the installation of non-motorized trail in the existing easement extending from Winchester and Montague to the west. And it's hard to visualize, and we really included the rendering here, but you're looking from Sherman Boulevard toward Greenwood Street. Right now, it's just a former railroad right-of-way. It's a large open space. You can see on the left there is an existing gas station, and then on the right is a rendering of a proposed future building that looks eerily similar to 1021 Jefferson. And the second action step calls for establishment of a public easement that would improve access to the properties fronting that former railroad right-of-way. So this is a shortcut. There's a pretty heavy foot traffic path that's cut through there now, but it's unimproved. This would call for making improvements and making that a more formal connection between those two neighborhoods, a place where people can come together and go from one side of the creek area, more or less, to the other. Our Sheldon Park neighborhood, this is the intersection of Apple Avenue and Getty Street. This meets a goal identified in all 4 key subject areas. And generally speaking, it's for improving pedestrian infrastructure on Apple and Getty Street. So some discussion has already started with Apple Avenue. We have a citizens committee that's reviewing that currently. And there's been a traffic study done with Getty Street. We're seeing continued investment in the Getty Street corridor with some new businesses opening there. And basically, this is one of those corridor studies that we call for. The potential for organizing the businesses along those streets so that you can do things like is being discussed in Lakeside and is happening in Lakeside. And then ultimately enhancing the Getty and Apple corridors with streetscaping improvements. So some of these projects are underway, but this is also solidifying this as a goal, a broader goal for the next 25 years of the city, basically. There are very few next steps, we believe. Today is the final presentation to you all. Just earlier this month, I believe, we presented the Planning Commission. As Mike said, unanimous recommendation for approval of this. Not the end of it, though. We have quite a bit left to do. These are overwhelmingly long slides of our goals and recommendations. The time frame in which we hope to do them, sort of generally it's loose, but we know what are ongoing versus things we need to do now, things we will do next. And then the task leaders, we identify the various departments in the city that are responsible for carrying out this work. So for each chapter, we have a long list of things that we are eager to get started on, and it's all based on the feedback we received from residents and the work that's gone into this plan for the past 4 years, really. Happy to answer. Hopefully that provides a decent overview of sort of how the plan is structured and how we hope to achieve some of these things.
Excellent presentation on a expansive and extensive document that's going to be guiding our planning and land use going forward. Commissioner Ramsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I had one suggestion, just one, Jamie, literally, it would be that on your timelines where thank you for assigning offices so that we know who to follow up with, but I would also add some actual dates to your timelines. And if you have to move those, guess what? That's okay. Sure. But it gives us an idea of how to help support and to look for, and as things are continuing to work, we can then follow up and ask questions. Yeah. But I think that having real dates there also enables our neighbors to understand where we are and what's next. Now, next, soon, sure. But dates would be very helpful.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think as we start to get into each of those goals too, we'll further refine that schedule. And I think what we'll find is that we'll be scheduling our year around starting to achieve some of these, and we'll be able to come back and say, we're going to address these in this more definitive timeline. This is our first pass at it. So once we get into it.
And then I cannot stress enough, realize that timelines change. This is a living, breathing document that changes with our community and its needs and the environment. So when all of that stuff changes, that's okay. All we do is update it and take the next step. Great job.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramsey. Commissioner Hood, were you the supporting? Did you make the support for the motion? Did you second the motion?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to call on you next if you had anything to ask or add. All right. Commissioner St. Clair or Commissioner Emery or Gorman, do you have anything to ask or add at this time?
No.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Yeah, I would like to address Director Frenzik. Thank you, Jamie. Hello, Michael.
Commissioner Ramsey.
The first time I interacted with you after I took this seat was me offering you to walk around the Jackson Hill neighborhood and hand deliver 396 postcards to the houses that lived around a site that we were looking at doing some work around. And you sort of scoffed at me and thought that I was kidding. I looked at our then Commissioner at Large, Candace Johnson, and was like, I'm not kidding. From that conversation to what you have shared with us today is amazing. You and your team, Deborah, Jamie, you guys have done so much work across 2 administrations around this, and it has everything to do with community. We love to say that things are community driven. Things are community driven. And then we show up and we say, so community, these are the options that you can choose from. That's not community driven. This document was created and is now owned by our community. And that is at the hands of you guys with the support of us and all of our neighbors. So I am so proud just to see the work that has changed in the last 4 years around the way that we show up to be neighbors to our neighbors. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And, public participation has always been a big thing in Muskegon, but this commission and the last commission that we were working with as well, you guys really appreciate that aspect a lot. And we decided that we are all in on public participation. We will always offer it. If you guys always want to do more, we will always do more. That's not the only time I've walked around neighborhoods putting things in mailboxes. We've done it a couple times since. We just sent out 3,000 letters for a rezoning initiative. We know that that's what the commission wants. So even though it's not required by the Zoning Enabling Act, we know that that's what this commission wants because that's what the community wants. So thank you for setting that standard.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramsey. And kind of just to echo, like, yes, you all knocked it out of the park. Like with this document, this is an expansive document, hundreds of pages here, but it was a document that you wrote in concert and with our community. As Commissioner Ramsey indicated, this was truly community driven. You showed up, asked, and received that input and incorporated that input into each step of the plan. And it is wonderful to see. There's a lot of effort, countless hours, and so many meetings that you went out into our community, into our neighborhoods, and engaged on the ground with our residents and business owners to develop this plan. A plan that's going to be guiding our city going forward. It is an incredibly important plan, incredibly important update. Once in a quarter century. And
I'm not coming back for the next one.
And I am truly proud to see how much of our community is reflected in this document. And I hope that our community sees themselves in it as well and is equally proud about it. And I'm so excited for what's to come in terms of implementing this and doing those several different studies that are focusing on particular aspects of it and the development of it. It is really an exciting endeavor, and I'm sure you all are very relieved to be through the process of writing this and now getting on to implementing it with our community. So thank you again, and kudos on a job very well done.
Thank you, and thank you for the team and to the community for helping us write it.
All right. Roll call, please.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramsey,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, now we have public comment on non-agenda items. I've received one form to speak. There's still time to submit your forms to speak on non-agenda, well, any items. You can speak on an agenda item that we've already covered. This is general public comment time, so you're welcome to give up to 3 minutes for remarks on anything you wish to discuss. We do encourage you to complete the public comment form in the back of the room. Please provide your name and home address. I will not share your home address, nor will I ask you to announce it. It is for our internal records. And first up, I'm going to be calling Ann Vandermolen, joining us from the city of Roosevelt Park.
Hi. Okay, I already talked to Chief Kozel about my concern. 9 years ago, when I asked Tracy Lorenz if he had taken a test for STDs, he said I must be a dirty person in order to have to be concerned about that. I was stunned and humiliated. I submitted to almost anything after that. I contend it was rape after that because I had asked him to bring condoms. I haven't dated in almost 10 years. I threw away all my bras that I wore with him because they made me cry uncontrollably. I got on Facebook in 2020, and 6 months later, I noticed that he was on with a friend of mine. I was shocked at first, and I felt violated because I realized he probably read everything I wrote to her. But his profile pic kept popping up, and so I eventually reached out. I don't know why. I was still too afraid to be near him because of the physical violence and also the mental abuse. I didn't want him controlling my mind again. I yelled at him on the phone a year ago because he was trying to control my mind again. 3 years ago, I had also seen something on Facebook about him having to deal with a gnat. I believe that gnat was me. I thought I'd try to beat him at his own game and text him a lot so I could get evidence that we knew each other and had been intimate. Nobody knows how crazy I went when I saw in the Grand Haven police report that he had lied and basically called me a stalker. All of a sudden, the realization that he's been telling the whole community that for 9 years washed over me and completely overwhelmed me. No one in this community can fathom what that felt like or what that still feels like. I'm in a mental prison. I asked the city of Muskegon and the Muskegon Police Department to look into this. I've already talked to Chief Kozel tonight. I wrote that report 9.5 years ago, and in it I basically said that I felt like a rape victim, but I didn't know how to put it in words. All throughout my report, I give hints to being a victim of rape. In order to appease him, because I had turned him down after he physically hurt me, I let him film me. And I did bring my report that I wrote 9.5 years ago. And in it, all throughout, one thing I said that I felt like it was what a rapist would do or say. Also, I said how he commented on my body, that my body was rejecting him because I wasn't comfortable at all after he called me a dirty person.
That is your time, Ms.
Okay,
Vandermolen.
thank you. Thank you to Chief Kozel for talking to me.
Take care. All right, I'm sorry, sir. I may not pronounce your name well enough. Joining us from the Nelson neighborhood, is it Glenn Rudkowski? Okay, what's that? You can teach me. Welcome, sir. If
Thank you very much.
would properly pronounce your name,
It's
and then you have 3 minutes.
It's Rutkauskas.
Rudkowski.
Yes. Thank you for allowing me to speak, but I'm here because of the speeding on Webster and the speeding on West Muskegon Avenue between 7th and 9th. My wife had emailed the safety officer, and he was fantastic. We got one of those radar things up there, and it was awesome, but the speeding, it's out of control, and we really don't know what us as individual citizens can do about it other than, bring it to your attention. But yeah, it's on West Muskegon. It's bad when they come off the off a Seaway.
onto West Muskegon and then going on to Seaway. It's gone from bad to worse in the last couple months. I do have a radar gun, so I have been documenting it. And I think I'm up to 50 at one point. So, but yeah, and yeah, if you ever want to see it for yourself, you have my address now. Just, we're always on the porch, so, but yeah. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you joining us this evening, Mr. Rukowskis.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. So, next up, we have Cheryl Wittenberg joining us from the NIMS neighborhood, and you have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Okay. In no way do I feel that any of the people that are responding on Nextdoor are responding to a hidden agenda. I don't believe that there is a hidden agenda at City Hall. I believe that you do the best you can to do the best you have to work with for all the people. Okay, so that's clearing that. But one of the things I want to tell you is a common question of many is what's behind all of the things, the changes in Muskegon, from shoreline diet to the master plan, etc. And after coming to some of the meetings, it became real apparent. Again, it was mentioned again tonight. Quote verbatim, many of the things that are being said are coming from eco-cities. And those of you who don't know about eco-cities, I would recommend that you take a look at them because this seems to be a page out of that book. One of the articles that I found was Richard Register is a founder and emissary of Eco-City Builders, is one of the world's great theorists and authors in ecological city design and planning. Once stated that an eco-city is an ecologically healthy city. No such city exists. Despite the conceptual ecological benefits of eco-cities, actual implementation can be difficult to attain. The conversion of existing cities to eco-cities is uncommon because the infrastructure, both in terms of the physical city layout, are often major insurmountable obstacles to large-scale sustainable development. The high cost of the technological integration necessary for eco-city development is a major challenge, as many cities either can't afford it or are not willing to take on the extra costs. Such issues, along with the added challenges and limits to retrofitting existing cities, contribute to the establishment of newly constructed eco-cities. In other words, like the Chinese dictatorships, they use it in 500,000 people cities and new builds. Along with this, the cost and infrastructure development needed to manage these large-scale two-pronged projects extend beyond the capabilities of most cities. In addition, many cities around the world are currently struggling to maintain the status quo with budgetary issues. While there are many examples worldwide, the development of eco-cities is still limited due to the vast challenges and high costs associated with sustainability. And I would say that that's what is afoot here. And I think that most of the people who are responding on Nextdoor are very sincere in that they love their city. They love also the micropolitan areas where they are stakeholders. And they just wish to see prioritization of things that need to be done before things that we want to do. That's the change. We need housing. I know you're working on it. I'm done. But I will address this again.
Thank you, Ms. Wittenberg. Appreciate you joining us this evening. Next up, we have Rainey Starr joining us from the city of Norton Shores. Welcome. You have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Welcome. First of all, I would like to say thank you to the city of Muskegon. We have definitely had our ups and downs, but throughout this year we have mended in great ways, and I appreciate all that you guys have done. Open Gates of Grace Ministries, I am the president and pastor of that religious organization, and the city of Muskegon, as many of you know, awarded our organization ARPA funds for $100,000 to rebuild our building, which we had a fire last year. However, during this time, I'm getting some new problems here. This, I I'm not for sure if it's the city of Muskegon who's doing it or the county, but they've decided that I no longer have the right to religious freedoms in regards to not paying taxes. And I've received, I believe, a $530 tax bill on my church. And when I went to the assessor and asked them why, they gave me that piece of paper that I gave you guys, and they highlighted two things. Yep, they said the reason why is a church is considered a church if you are a religious organization, it's owned by a religious organization and used primarily for, church services or what have you. And they said, well, because you had a fire, you aren't using your church, so we're going to tax you. And that was the reason they gave me. Now, I don't know who could have an idea that is what that interpretation is, but something Mark Beaucamp, my other half, you guys know he's an exceptional 40-year veteran in business, he made note of. He said, Renice, if that was the intent of that law, then they would have had a date as to if you don't use your building for 3 months, then we will tax you. That is obviously an interpretation stating that the building itself must be used primarily for religious purposes, which we are all fully aware that it absolutely is. And we still do. We receive all of our mail still, our prayers, requests, our tithes, offerings still go to that building. In fact, I got tons of mail just a moment ago. And we are in the process of rebuilding it based upon you guys' generous donations. And so they're telling me that I have to wait till March to get a review to say, to argue that. Well, what the problem is with that is there is within your ARPA funds, it indicates that you can't have back taxes and back things. And that would hold us up till March. And I would like to have this dealt with, and I don't know where to go from here. And I'm asking you.
Thank you, Ms. Starr.
Yes.
So we can't give you an answer right this moment, but we can speak separately.
Okay.
And see if we can point you in the right direction. All right. I'm going to do another call for anyone in the audience that wishes to speak. But before I do so, I want to let folks at home watching know that the call-in number is 231-724-6721. When you're calling in, please turn down any devices that you may be listening or watching this meeting so there's not the interference in the background. But I'm going to do another call to the audience. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to give public comment at this time. Commissioner Ramsey, you had something to...
So I have something for new business
raise?
that isn't public comment, but I figured we could, while we were waiting for the phone, I could ask my question about new business.
Okay.
I've had several of our neighbors, our municipality neighbors, reach out to talk to me about the issue of mute swans on Lake Michigan, on Muskegon Lake, and I didn't know if we had made any progress on that, but I said that I would ask tonight.
So that has been approached to us. A couple other communities have passed resolutions. It's in our to review thing to bring up to you guys, but I have neglected to do that so far.
That's okay.
There's something still be forthcoming. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can ask any officials after the meeting if you have specific questions.
One question.
Okay. Yeah, I think they'll probably stick around and answer your questions. And speaking of that, I was remiss in not acknowledging. So folks at home and in the audience that are maybe have not been part of the process of creating this, but are interested in what's in this, we have this available in the city clerk's office, so you can thumb through it, the physical version, and then it's also on the city website. So if you go to shorelincity.com, at the top of the website, it's Connect Muskegon. Click on that portal, and then find the Master Land Use Plan project there, along with several other projects that are ongoing in our city. And so you can read all of the documents that went into this plan, and then how we're going to be moving forward as well. And then you can also see all the history too, the many meetings that have been held over the past 3 to 4 years to create this plan. So that is available online and in person. And last call for public comment from the audience before we go to the phones. All right. Is anyone on the line calling in?
No, Mayor.
Okay. So, commissioners, are there any other items that you wanted to address under any other business? Commissioner St. Clair.
Thank you. I wanted to acknowledge, and I don't think anyone from IT is here. There is a new tool on the website that I want to make sure the whole community knows about. It's an interactive commissioner ward precinct lookup tool. I noticed shortly after I joined the commission that it was really hard to figure out what ward people were in and who their commissioners were. And I asked our staff if we could come up with a way to just have a static map on the website so that people could zoom in and see who their commissioner was. And instead, they created this incredible tool that is real-time data and very user-friendly. Everybody has a ward commissioner, but you also have 2 at-large commissioners and a mayor that serve you. So everyone has a quorum that is directly responsive to you. But this tool is a really neat thing, and I just am so pleased with the work that was put into it, and it is so much more than I asked for or even considered they could do. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone in the city knows about that. Use it. It's incredible.
Indeed. Thank you, Commissioner St. Clair. And thank you to the IT department.
And I have used it and I have dispersed. People are very happy.
And then also wanted to share with folks that we are continuing to hold Parks and Recreation park parties. There was one this evening at Bucoma Playfield, and there's another one coming up this Thursday, September 14th, 4 to 6 p.m. at McCrae Park, and then there'll be one at Amott Park in the Jackson Hill neighborhood on September 19th, one at Sheldon Park on September 21st, and then one at St. Joseph Park on September 26th in the Nims neighborhood, all of which are 4 to 6 p.m. This is part of our ongoing efforts to confer and meet with our residents and park users on the ground to hear from them on how they'd like their park system to best serve them today and going forward. We have revived our Parks and Recreation Department, formerly called Leisure Services, that was dissolved 13 years ago, thereabouts 13 to 15. And we've revived Parks and Recreation Department. We are in the process of also doing a Parks and Recreation Master Plan, separate from the Master Land Use Plan that was discussed earlier. And then creating a Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee that's going to be made up of citizens to work in concert with staff to make recommendations. Whoa! To make recommendations to the City Commission on prioritization of resources going towards programming and new equipment in our parks across our city, with an emphasis on equitable investment in our park system. So I just want to remind people that those park parties are ongoing. There's extra play activities for kids. There's pizza and ice cream. A soft serve ice cream machine. I was at I have Bucoma today. I was surprised. I was like, wow, we got soft serve. Quite nice. So please come out and enjoy our parks and confer with our city officials and provide your feedback about how we can better serve you and our community in general with our Parks and Recreation Department and park system. So thank you. Anything else from the commission that you might want to address under any other business? Nope. And still nobody called in, right?
No, Mayor.
Okay. And then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner St. Clair, supported by Commissioner Hood to adjourn. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, take care, and be well.
Mayor.